And hello there and welcome back. We're going to be joined now by the Vice President of Cisco here in the Middle East and Africa region, and I'm really excited about this conversation. She's a leading woman in the region, and indeed she's the first female and a local leader as well in her current role. And really her initiatives over the last while have really led the company to become a leading consultant technology provider right across 74 markets. So I'm absolutely thrilled and really honored to welcome to ABLF Talks Reem Asaad. Reem, thanks for joining us.
Edna, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Now, it's been a hectic year for business right around the world, but a lot of people, of course, curious to see how leaders are actually managing and what has been in place since the onset of the pandemic. How are things at Cisco? Could you talk to us in terms of what has happened in the past year for you?
Absolutely. Tell me about it. It's been an incredible year, right? With lots of opportunities, ups and downs, but all in all, I think it's been a wake-up call for everybody. And we saw a big change in the markets we operate in our environments, with governments, with customers. So definitely a big shift. And I think, of course, COVID has accelerated a lot of the transitions into digital transformation. So the two big shifts I see personally, Edna, is the acceleration of digital transformation across governments, customers, the whole ecosystem. And the second thing is the need for green technology and sustainability, which is a big subject now. And we're starting to see this as a big agenda item in our region, which makes me very proud.
It is, and I think it's very good, and the speed and I think the focus and actually the commitment that we're seeing to this is so encouraging, particularly coming from the region. Talk to me a little bit about, I suppose, the key business drivers, if we were to look at that you put in place in the last couple of months and the last year, I suppose. Here we are, September now, so I'm sure a lot has been happening in the last year.
Sure. So let me tell you a little bit of the readiness of the region. So I think as an observation, I think companies and governments that have invested in technology pre-pandemic, I think when the pandemic hit, they were the most prepared to deal with the challenges, and their transition was much easier. When I look at others that were not well invested, I think they had, of course, additional hurdles they had to go through. So all in all, Cisco's role was clear: to be the consultant to our customers and governments, to help them to drive their digital agenda and to survive and flourish in this new normal. So I think when it comes to Cisco, if I put it in three main priorities, it was clear to us that there are three main areas that we need to focus on. So the pandemic had changed how customers view their business. So what customers, what technologies they need, what are their business needs, how they want to consume. It's not just the go-to-market, but it also the go-to-market has changed. And with that, Cisco, of course, had to change and to adapt to this new normal and to try to look into the solutions that we needed for business continuity, crisis management, sustainability, collaboration, all that good stuff. But I think there are three major areas that we had a big focus on, and it's our strategy. One is definitely, I always say, customer experience is the business. So how you engage with your customer and your citizens, this is the business. An application and your interface is the currency to that. So how you, whether you do it for speed, scale, optimization, efficiency, that's the profit that businesses and governments gain from that. So for us, there was a big focus on driving applications. And the best way to do it in the pandemic, when you have a hybrid and remote workplace and workforce, is through cloud services. So definitely there was a big shift into a cloud-first strategy with our customers and governments, how they can put their applications on the cloud, whether in-house, leveraging hyperscalers, hybrid cloud models. But it became clear to be able to grow and scale, you needed to have adoption of cloud, and cloud is really an enabler for digital transformation. So this is something that we focused on big time, and we doubled down on putting a lot of services as a service on the cloud and avail that to our governments and customers to aid them in their digital transformation. The second biggest thing, and of course giving them the tool to have the visibility, because with your applications on the cloud, you need to be in control. You need to see what's happening, whether it's on-prem, whether it's hosted at the hyperscaler, whether it's multi-cloud. So being able to see end to end is very important to give you the feel of comfort to be able to scale. The second big thing, of course, is the shift in the work. So work will never be the same way it was. Now we say work is not where you go, it's what you do. So we work from homes, we work from kitchen tables, we work from offices, we work from anywhere nowadays. And I think it's very important that with this shift in this hybrid work model, whether it's a hybrid workforce from everywhere in the world, it opened the markets for everybody. So you could have workers in the UK working in the Middle East or vice versa. And of course, the workplace. So you have everybody connecting to your network. So you need to have good collaboration tools. And that became the second most important focus area for Cisco. So to give you an example, Cisco's WebEx and collaboration tool is WebEx. So over this last year, we had over 800 new features introduced in WebEx to be able to put the right environment, whether it's for businesses, whether it's for governments, and a lot of things from customizing your layout, from instant translation, so you can have instant translation, from closed captions, so virtual reality, immersive experience, to surveying, to get the customer sentiment and the employee sentiment on the call. So a lot of features. And I think the third area I want to highlight, because you can do both, be on the cloud and use the application and focus on collaboration if you don't have the comfort of security. So security and cyber security is a big deal now, because you're putting all your business and your life out to the world to see. And you must be comfortable that regardless of how people reach you, any device, any user, any location, that you have a security end to end. And we call it in Cisco zero trust, because this is something you don't take lightly. So at the end, I think the three main areas that Cisco focused on was simplicity, security, scalability, and definitely investment protection of what was invested, and definitely driving and supporting the businesses and governments for growth in their digital agenda and business growth.
Well, you've given me so much there. I love that. Simplicity, security, scalability, all of that. But I loved what you were saying just there in terms of, the customer experience, and that is actually your business and the application is the currency. I think that's wonderful to hear that coming from industry leaders, because I think that's what the customers need to hear, they want to hear, and the fact that you're committed and delivering that, it's so important. When we look at Cisco, a major technology player and really so well established, to perhaps come back a little bit on, the concept of security, and cybersecurity. Obviously, as you said there, it's not something to be compromised. It's so important. And again, it's about making sure that all other businesses can feel, can feel secure and can have that trust. So giving them that, it allows them really to carry on their business, doesn't it? So I think what you're offering is, it's just so important for, the sustainability and longevity of every business now.
That's very true. From security standpoints, we've seen a high number of attacks and a lot of challenges in cybersecurity and denials of service. And for any business or any government to be able to conduct its business, now you have to plan security. As a business or government, you expect that any device will connect to your network. Any user, you need to have identity, clarity of who's connecting, and from any location, as we said, given the new hybrid world. So in Cisco, there was a big focus to put a security end-to-end on a platform, and also to offer it as a cloud service, as a service. And I think this is the new innovation, that you can connect all your architecture, and you could be hosted locally where you are. You could be on a hybrid cloud somewhere. You could be hosted at a hyperscaler. But at the end, you need to make sure that security, there's no weak link in the chain, and then you're supporting your users. But also, we tend to miss with security usability, because you don't want to give up the ease of usability and the customer experience as well. So I think the biggest win is when you have zero trust security and single sign-on, and it becomes, you do it once and you consume many. So I think this is the innovation, that it doesn't become a burden for the end customer, or while you have the right security in place and you don't sacrifice usability. So I think the balance between both, and Cisco is known to be the leader in security, and all our operations are with governments and customers and all that, and even the biggest conferences have been done on Cisco platforms. So it's very important, it's core in our DNA to make sure that we have zero trust security, and we make sure that the transaction and the engagement is safe end to end.
Absolutely, and I think that's what everybody needs, to understand and to have that trust. And it has to be simple, as you said too. People, this is now part and parcel of our lives. This is how we work. So it needs to be something that we're all very, very comfortable with. Let's talk a little bit more about, what's going on at Cisco, what you're doing. And one area too I want to specifically talk about is diversity. Let's, maybe delve in a little bit in terms of, the gender gap that we see in many companies around the world and many tech companies, but I think that's opening up. Talk to me about your hopes for what's going on at Cisco, and indeed, what are you doing?
Cisco, at its core of Cisco is, around the world, I think we see that all technology companies are really doubling down on to ensure that we have the right diversity and inclusion as part of the culture. And I think diversity, again, has proven again and again, and we don't need business cases nowadays. We've done too many, to tell you the truth, but it has been proven. We need to move on this conversation that diversity and inclusion brings better outcomes and outputs for companies, because you have a balanced decision making and you have an inclusive environment where everybody can flourish and give their best and be their best. And Cisco is definitely, I'm very impressed. I've been in Cisco for the last year and a half, and I've been very impressed with, if nothing else, with Cisco's vision and strategies. So Cisco's aim is to power an inclusive future for all. So this is core. Equality is core to our purpose and strategy. And this is our announced vision in Cisco. And we do this in so many ways, Etna. So I think I see it in the diversified leadership team that we have. I see it in the boards that we sit on and our boards of directors. I see it even in our hiring processes, how every interview has a diversified panel. So we make sure we combat unconscientious bias into our hiring. A lot of initiatives I've seen since I joined Cisco that is really focused on female leadership in the company. And you can see this clearly in the executive leadership and senior leadership of Cisco. And I'm an example of that, to tell you the truth. And we have a lot of initiatives, and the whole intent is always to attract women and to retain women and progress women in their career. And it's been a big focus in Cisco. Three things that come top of mind. So we have a big global initiative called Cisco Women of Cisco, and this is a global event where all Cisco female leaders, men, and everybody collaborate globally with other companies to drive this agenda and focus on collaborating and sharing achievements across the board. I think the other thing that comes to mind that I really enjoyed when I attended a few sessions at Cisco is our Girls Power Tech. So big focus on the young girls and how to get them involved in STEM and computer science and engineering, and really help them to give them an opportunity of development and growth and internship at Cisco. And we collaborate with a lot of NGOs and corporate responsibility and supporting women in STEM. And the last thing that comes to mind is Women of Impact. So this is like we dedicate one full day where we bring in speakers and collaborate with other female leaders across other companies and across the globe to talk about and showcase success stories and showcase female leadership. So a lot of activities, but it doesn't stop at gender, to tell you the truth. In Cisco, it's inclusion, it's everything, it's color, it's gender, it's age. It's really the inclusion, because we're diverse by nature, if you think about it, especially in the Middle East, right? If I'm talking about my region, 74 countries, a diverse region, so we are diverse by nature in every aspect. But it's how you turn this diversity into true inclusion, and where everybody feels included and they're part of the conversation, men and women alike.
And I love your, no-nonsense approach to this in so many ways here. There's no need for case studies anymore. As you said, we've been talking about this long enough. And actually the work that you're doing, and to see that inclusion, yes, right across those 74 countries, but also, as you said, right across the board, so to speak, in bringing everybody in. Talk to me a little bit about Cisco's Networking Academy. What is that?
So Cisco Networking Academy, so this is an initiative that Cisco started almost in 1997. And this is an initiative really to drive digital transformation and help our youth and our people to be technology savvy and really to bridge the digital divide. So we have this in about 61 of our countries across the region. We have trained so far, I think we have welcomed over 2 million individuals that have had networking academies. So it's a platform where you can get certified on technology. So we train teachers, we train youth, we train students, we train professionals on technology subjects: security, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, IoT, networking, collaboration, the whole bit. So they leave this networking academy, they're empowered with technical skills and technology skills to approach the workplace and support them in job creation and job attainment. And it helps, of course, the governments at large when we have like government projects to even help and train government officials, government employees in these initiatives. It's across the board. It's teachers, it's students, it's enterprise, it's students, but it's a platform and investment and a commitment for Cisco in the region to drive technology awareness and digital transformation and to bridge the digital divide. And that's one of the challenges we use.
Indeed, and I think that's, it's admirable you're doing this, but I think you've also taken it on board almost, it sounds like, as a responsibility and also, as a very sort of a passionate project that the industry wants to do. But let's take a little bit, a bit of a look in terms of your background too. I mean, you've been in the tech sector for a long time. You've been an entrepreneur, you see what's going on in the industry. How encouraged are you in terms of looking at women in STEM, and whether you like it or not, you've become a role model for, I think, many women, and I would say many women in Egypt where you grew up, and just so how encouraged are you to actually see more women coming into this industry, and what are the opportunities that are there?
I tell you, I'm really, it's a good place we're in now. It's a really good place, I think, from the region, focus on that, and women in general. So, and being based in the UAE, I can tell you, I'm one of the countries I'm very proud of is the achievements in the UAE as a female leader. So I think there's a big focus on ensuring gender balance and equality, and it's a top priority in education. I see today in the UAE and in the workplace, and a big focus. They even have the Gender Balance Council, right, since 2015, I believe. So big statements and big focus. Women, I think there's many prominent women and female leaders in government, in key government official roles at the government, at the businesses, and 2/3 of the country's recent university graduates are women. 77% are in computer science and engineering, and 44% in engineering. So definitely there's a big uptake in the UAE. I see this, and it shows that there is interest, there's passion, there is talent, and businesses are doing the same. So I think in companies like Cisco and the like, there's a big focus on diversity. There's a big focus on having a balanced team, and I'm a good example of that. So being, like you said earlier, being the first leader coming from the region to start with. In the history of Cisco at Middle East and Africa, and being a female leader, I think this is a statement in itself to be leading such a diverse and great region. As I said, 74 countries, big region, different opportunities, different scales, different countries, and I think that's in itself is a vote of confidence and a statement that we have moved the needle. So, which is good, and we need to continue doing this, you and I and everybody, and open the door and break the glass ceiling for women in our industry.
Without a doubt, and it's great to see it, and a huge international company like Cisco too taking that initiative. They clearly are not taking a chance. They know your capability, they know your background, and I think so congratulations again too on that. Talk to us a little bit about, what's going on in the UAE and maybe in other countries, and other countries will look at the UAE. There's a huge push in entrepreneurism here. And it's even this week, they're talking about the opportunities that are there for entrepreneurs, for startups. Where do you see that opportunity? And again, how can maybe the educational systems, we need everybody working together. You're doing your bit with the academy and other programs you have, but there's industry, there's education, there's government. Everybody needs to really drive this concept, because it looks like there's tremendous opportunities out there. What do you think?
Oh, I think we're blessed to be in this region. It's this emerging region. I can tell you, governments are hungry for innovation. There's a big appetite for innovation and growth. We have the space to scale. The addressable market is awesome and amazing. So I think we are in a very, very good place. And I see lots of countries, and we can name the UAE, for example, just exactly the initiative you just mentioned, but also I'm very fond of the national program for coders that the UAE launched, and Cisco has the pleasure to participate in this. And I think this is, today, innovation depends on talent, right? And we are all in war for talent and having the right talent to drive any growth, whether in countries, whether in governments, whether in corporates. So I think focusing on digital transformation and putting an initiative where we focus on coders and development and technology. And I think the aspiration is to train about 100,000 coders and to launch about 1,000 digital company within the next 5 years. I think this is admirable. I see Saudi following the same. I see similar initiatives in Egypt. I see initiatives the same in South Africa and Turkey. So I think the region is hungry for innovation. We have the opportunity. There is the capacity to grow, and we're leapfrogging now. And I think I'm very happy with what I'm seeing. And I think technology, there's no, I mean, it's COVID put it to an end, right? Like the business case for women in leadership. I think COVID put it an end, that technology is the arm for digital transformation, whether it's governments or corporates. And COVID made it very clear. And I think you see this now in this adoption and leapfrog that we've seen over the last year, right? So we've seen it in a number of our areas in our countries. So healthcare, for example, who would have thought we're going to be doing telemedicine and having all these units where you do the screening and where you're safeguarding the patients and the physicians. We've seen this in the UAE, we've seen this in Saudi, in Egypt, South Africa during lockdown. So healthcare has had a big leapfrog, and will continue to do. Education. We all the kids stayed at home, all the students. So I can tell you, for example, in Egypt, part of the initiatives we did with the Ministry of Higher Education, we connected about 400 higher education universities online, and trained about 20 million students. And this is just in a small period. So education is big across the board in the UAE and Saudi. So big growth in education. But not only that, all the government services, right? So all the government services, whether it's any government services, it had to go remote, it had to be online, and this was the way to consume services. So we saw a big jump in productivity and government services. Citizen services, all the services you used to have to do physically. Maybe in the UAE has been always leading, and in Saudi, but in other countries in the region, this was not. But I saw this transformation happen now during COVID, and it's great. Banking, now it's branchless offices, right? Yes. And all these financial services solutions, retail and wholesale and all that. So a shift in all the segments we work in, yes. Whether the public sector and its adoption, whether the enterprise, whether commercial, whether SMBs and small businesses, a big shift. Digital platforms. Now you're consuming everything through marketplace, cloud right. Marketplace, hyperscalers. So a big shift in technology.
Now, they used to say that actually technology was the disruptor, but I think when we look at it now, I always say it's the destination. There is no choice anymore. Everybody has to head in that direction. And I think it's being embraced, right across different sectors across the world. But if you were to look at sectors, and you deal with so many different industry and sectors and leaders, are there any that are perhaps lagging behind and maybe need a little bit of a push forward?
I think the pandemic has, some sectors flourished during the pandemics, and rightfully so. And those are some of the ones that I just named. And so, for example, e-commerce flourished in pandemic times. It's clear. Healthcare, big advancement in healthcare and education. We saw a big shift in oil and gas, banking. We saw a big shift on governments. We saw a big focus on security and defense and interior. But I think also some unfortunate segments didn't have the same luxury. But I'm impressed to say that they still continue to invest and focus on that. So unfortunately, hospitality, for example, took a hit. Aviation. So some segments weren't very fortunate due to the lockdowns and all that, but they didn't waste the time. On the contrary, I've seen, and we're working on a lot of projects for airports, automations and optimizations and control air traffic management and security. So a lot, hospitality, a lot of development work is happening across the region in real estate and property management. So and health and safety post-COVID. So I think you're seeing this traction now. And now that the new normal is here, and we understand that it's going to be a hybrid world going forward, and this is what we need to deal with. I think now every company, every corporate, every government, the biggest focus, the biggest conversation I have in all my meetings are about digital transformation. And how we can make it, if we can make it green while we're doing it and sustainable, I think this is the second agenda item that's really becoming very, very clear. And for us, we call it blue and green. So green for the environment, and for Cisco, we have a blue logo. So for us, our key initiative is blue and green. Let's bring it together.
Indeed, and I think that's the sweet spot. And just before we go, we look at what's going on in the world, and there's so much happening, but there's still a lot of uncertainty out there. But indeed, we still have 1 quarter of the year left, so the year is not over. And if you were to say, what can we all do? What can business do? What can individuals do to make sure that we close off 2021, perhaps in a better state than when we started? Where do you think the big focus has to be?
So I think, again, as I say, we're very blessed to be in an emerging markets where you have still appetite to grow and for innovation. And we're leapfrogging, we're doing mega projects that I don't see in the US and I don't see in Europe. And we have the luxury to be doing this. I see a lot of projects. Look, we have Expo 2020 coming up, and it's going to be the best exhibition and show of the world. We have World Cup in Qatar coming up, which is great. We have in Saudi, we have NEOM, we have the Red Sea initiatives. In Egypt, we have the whole new administrative city. In South Africa, lots of projects. So I think all in all, we're in a theater where we see mega projects that you don't see across anywhere else. And with that comes job creation, with that comes attraction to talent, which is the key to fuel any growth for Middle East and Africa. With that comes opportunities, with that comes great GDP and growth in our countries. So my call out and call for action for everybody is, guys, one, focus on your digital transformation. This is here to stay. This is the new normal. And there's a shift that we see. We shift in how we consume technology, the shift in how we work, in this hybrid workforce and hybrid workplaces, a shift into security, a shift in beefing up our infrastructure to be able to deal with this new demands and scale. And also the second call out, Etna, is talent. You cannot do this without talent. And I think when somebody asks me what is the biggest asset Middle East and Africa has, I say it's talent. We are blessed to have a population, a young population, a STEM savvy population that grew up at a time when technology is the norm. And we need to really help them to embrace technology, give them the jobs and the ability to have good careers in technology and engineering and computer science. And everything we spoke about requires this talent. So we have the tools, right? We have the market dynamics, which is the first important thing. And we're in recovery. GDP is getting back to growth. We are in recovery. And we're hoping once we reach a good level of vaccination across the region, then we're going to see that these recovery funds being shifted into IT spend. With that, so macroeconomically, we're good. The second thing is definitely using the assets and the tools and the talent we have to really deliver to to digital transformation for the region to bring the growth and economic flourishment to the region. And technology is the name of the game, and talent is the name of the game. And we have all the ingredients. So let's do it. So that's my call for action.
And on that very, very inspiring and optimistic note, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. Thank you so much. It really is putting the talent, putting the technology, and indeed putting, great leaders like yourself, and the enthusiasm, I think, and the commitment and the passion and the dynamism, I think, that you have, is something that's going to actually inspire so many other people. So I really, really want to thank you for being with us, Reem Asaad, the Vice President, Middle East and Africa for Cisco. Reem, thank you so much. It's been a really great, inspiring, delightful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.